I never thought I'd be the type of person to throw away everything good in my life, but here I am, trying to explain how I managed to destroy the most stable relationship I've ever had. I'm Gabby, 34, and this is probably the hardest story I'll ever have to tell. 7 years ago, I was a struggling single mom with 2 kids, working as a dental hygienist and barely making ends meet. My ex Ryan was completely unreliable, showing up maybe once every few months to see the kids, usually empty-handed and full of excuses about child support. My daughter Emma was 8 then, and my son Jack was 6. They'd already learned not to expect much from their dad, which broke my heart every time I saw their faces fall when he'd cancel at the last minute. That's when Isaac came into our lives. He started as a patient at our practice, and I remember thinking how kind his eyes were when he smiled, even through all the dental work. He was 38, established in his career as an architect, and had this calm, steady presence that made me feel safe just being around him. We started talking during his appointments, and eventually, he asked me out for coffee. I was hesitant at first. Dating as a single mom is complicated enough, but Isaac made everything feel easy. He never pushed, never rushed, and most importantly, he understood that my kids came first. The first time he met Emma and Jack, he brought them each a small Lego set, not to buy their affection, but because he'd listened when I mentioned their interests. That's the kind of man Isaac is. Thoughtful, deliberate, always paying attention to the little details. Our relationship progressed naturally. Isaac would come over for movie nights with the kids, help Emma with her math homework, and teach Jack about architecture through building elaborate blanket forts. Within a year, we were talking about marriage, and the kids were thrilled. They'd never had a consistent father figure before, and Isaac filled that role perfectly. We got married in a small ceremony, with Emma as my maid of honor and Jack as the ring bearer. Isaac surprised us all during the reception by presenting the kids with adoption papers. Not to pressure them, but to let them know the option was there if they wanted it. I cried. The kids cried, and even Isaac's eyes weren't dry. It took another year of careful discussions, therapy sessions, and making sure the kids understood what it meant. But eventually, they chose to let Isaac adopt them. The first few years of our marriage were like living in a dream. Isaac's firm was doing well, which meant I could cut back my hours at the dental office to spend more time with the kids. We moved into a beautiful house in a great school district, and for the first time in my life, I felt completely secure. Isaac was everything Ryan wasn't: reliable, present, and genuinely invested in our family's happiness. But somewhere along the way, things started to shift. Maybe it was when Isaac's work started getting more demanding, or when the kids hit their teenage years and needed us less. The changes were so subtle at first that I barely noticed them. Isaac would come home later, buried in projects and deadlines. Our conversations became more about schedules and logistics than connection. The passion that had once burned so bright between us seemed to dim to a comfortable, but somehow unsatisfying, glow. I started feeling restless, though I couldn't explain why. Here I was, living the life I'd always dreamed of, and somehow it wasn't enough. I began spending more time at the gym, telling myself it was about self-care, but really, I was looking for something to fill the growing emptiness inside me. That's where I met Marcus, one of the personal trainers. He was younger than Isaac, with an energy that reminded me of how alive I used to feel. Marcus started giving me extra attention during my workouts, offering free advice and occasionally stopping by to chat when I was on the treadmill. He made me laugh in a way I hadn't in years, and I found myself looking forward to seeing him more than I wanted to admit. I told myself it was innocent, just friendly conversation with someone who happened to make me feel good about myself. But deep down, I knew I was playing with fire. I started scheduling my gym sessions when I knew Marcus would be working, wearing my best workout clothes, and lingering longer than necessary after my workouts. Isaac noticed the changes in my routine but attributed them to my newfound commitment to fitness. He even encouraged it, proud of me for taking care of myself. The guilt should have stopped me. The memory of Isaac's face when he presented those adoption papers to my children should have been enough. But instead, I found myself creating elaborate justifications in my mind. Isaac was always working. We barely had real conversations anymore. I deserved to feel excited about life again. Each excuse felt flimsier than the last, but I clung to them like a lifeline, refusing to acknowledge the real truth, that I was about to make a decision that would shatter the beautiful life we'd built together. Looking back, I can pinpoint the exact moment everything changed. It was after a particularly intense workout session, and Marcus offered to go over my fitness plan with me in his office. I should have recognized the red flags. The way he closed the door, how his chair seemed to inch closer to mine as we talked, the fact that it was almost closing time at the gym. But I didn't want to see them. That's when he kissed me. Or maybe I kissed him. Everything happened so fast, and I've spent so much time trying to rewrite the memory in my head that I honestly can't remember who moved first. What I do remember is not pulling away. Instead, I kissed him back with an intensity that scared me. All thoughts of Isaac temporarily erased from my mind. The guilt hit me the moment I got into my car. I sat there in the gym parking lot, hands shaking on the steering wheel, trying to process what I'd just done. My phone buzzed with a text from Isaac. Made your favorite lasagna for dinner. Kids are at study group. Date night? The nausea that washed over me was immediate and overwhelming. I drove home on autopilot, my mind racing with excuses and justifications. It was just a kiss. It didn't mean anything. I could pretend it never happened. But when I walked through the door and saw Isaac in the kitchen, wearing that ridiculous kiss the cook apron Emma had given him for Father's Day, I nearly broke down right there. Instead, I smiled, kissed his cheek, and told him I needed a shower. Under the hot water, I made a promise to myself. It was a one-time mistake, and it would never happen again. I would focus on my marriage, on the man who had given my children the father they deserved. But promises made in shame are surprisingly easy to break. The next day, I told myself I couldn't just stop going to the gym. That would look suspicious. So I went back, thinking I was strong enough to maintain professional boundaries with Marcus. I was wrong. What started as stolen kisses in his office evolved into coffee meetings to discuss my fitness progress. Soon, we were meeting during my supposed lunch breaks at work. Marcus made me feel alive in ways I hadn't in years. He was spontaneous, passionate, and completely focused on me in a way Isaac hadn't been in a long time. Emma, now 15, started noticing changes in my behavior. "Mom, you're on your phone a lot more lately," she commented one evening while we were making dinner. "And you seem different. Is everything okay with you and Dad?" The fact that she called Isaac Dad without hesitation, even while questioning my loyalty to him, felt like a knife to my heart. I brushed off her concerns, but her words haunted me. My daughter was old enough to pick up on the subtle shifts in my behavior, and I was teaching her all the wrong lessons about love and commitment. Jack, at 13, was less perceptive, but he too had started making comments about how I was never around for family movie nights anymore. Isaac, meanwhile, was trying harder than ever to reconnect with me. He started planning date nights, leaving sweet notes in my lunch bag, and making an effort to get home earlier from work. Each kind gesture felt like another weight added to the crushing guilt I carried. Here was a man who had not only chosen to love me, but had chosen to be a father to my children, and I was betraying him in the worst possible way. One night, after a particularly lovely family dinner where Isaac had gone all out to celebrate Emma's straight A's, I found myself in the bathroom, sobbing quietly into a towel. My phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. "Miss you. Meet me tomorrow?" I stared at those words, feeling the familiar pull of excitement mixed with self-loathing. That's when Jack knocked on the door. "Mom? Dad wants to know if you want to watch that new Marvel movie with us." He made popcorn. The simple domesticity of the moment. My son's voice, the smell of popcorn wafting under the door, the knowledge that my family was waiting for me, should have been enough to snap me out of whatever fantasy I was living in with Marcus. Instead, I texted back, "Okay, same time, same place." The affair continued for 2 more months. Each time I met Marcus, I told myself it would be the last time. Each time I came home to Isaac's loving smile, I swore I would end it. But the thrill of the secret, the excitement of forbidden love, had become like a drug I couldn't quit. Isaac started working on a huge project that would keep him in the office late most nights. Instead of feeling guilty about using this time to see Marcus, I felt justified. See, this is why I needed someone else. Isaac was never around. He was too busy with work. I conveniently forgot all the years he'd been there for every school play, every soccer game, every parent-teacher conference. The lies became more elaborate. I created fake ladies' night events, non-existent work functions, and imaginary gym classes to cover my tracks. I started keeping a note in my phone to remember which lies I'd told to which family member. The woman I saw in the mirror each morning became a stranger to me, someone capable of deceiving the people she loved most in the world. But the worst part wasn't the lies or the guilt. It was watching Isaac try so hard to fix a problem he didn't even know existed. He bought us tickets to a couple's retreat, which I declined using work as an excuse. He suggested family therapy, wondering if the kids' teenage years were putting a strain on our marriage. Each attempt to save our relationship made my betrayal feel even more devastating. They say the truth always comes out, and in my case, it happened in the most devastating way possible. I'd gotten careless, comfortable in my routine of deception. Marcus and I had started meeting at a small coffee shop across town, convinced we were being clever by avoiding the usual places near the gym. What I didn't know was that Emma had started volunteering at a shelter just 2 blocks away from that coffee shop. She was there that Tuesday afternoon when Marcus and I were saying goodbye outside the cafe. I didn't see her watching as he kissed me. Didn't notice her phone shaking in her hands as she recorded what she was seeing. I found out later that she'd stood there for several minutes, trying to process what she was witnessing. My daughter, who had watched Isaac become the father she'd always wanted, who had proudly taken his last name when he adopted her, was now burdened with the knowledge of my betrayal. She didn't confront me immediately. Instead, she went home and showed the video to Jack. My children sat with this horrible secret for 3 days, debating what to do, before Emma finally broke down and showed Isaac. I came home from what I'd told everyone was a dental conference, really a weekend away with Marcus, to find Isaac sitting at our kitchen table, my children nowhere in sight. The look on his face told me everything before he even spoke. "The kids are at my sister's," he said quietly, placing Emma's phone on the table between us. "They didn't want to be here for this conversation." My world collapsed as he played the video. Seeing myself through my daughter's eyes, laughing, kissing another man, completely oblivious to the damage I was causing, made me physically ill. But what broke me wasn't the evidence of my affair. It was Isaac's next words. "Emma's been crying for 3 days, he said, his voice cracking. "Not because she's angry, though she is. She's terrified that I'm going to leave, that she's going to lose another father. My daughter, because she is my daughter, Gabby, in every way that matters, actually tried to convince me not to watch the video because she was afraid of losing me." I tried to speak, to explain, to beg forgiveness, but Isaac held up his hand. "Jack hasn't said a word since they showed me, not one word. He just sits in his room, staring at his wall. These children, who trusted us to show them what love and family really mean, have watched their mother destroy everything they believed in." The magnitude of what I'd done hit me all at once. This wasn't just about betraying my husband. I had betrayed my entire family. I had taken the security and stability that Isaac had given all of us and shattered it for what? Some excitement? A few months of feeling young and desired again? "I need you to leave," Isaac said firmly. "Not forever. These are your children too, and I would never keep them from you. But right now, they can't even look at you, and frankly, neither can I." As I packed a bag with trembling hands, I found Emma's last school photo on my dresser. She was smiling proudly, wearing the necklace Isaac had given her for her 15th birthday. Next to it was a picture from Jack's middle school graduation, where he'd insisted on having Isaac stand next to him in all the photos. These moments, these precious pieces of our family's happiness, now felt like accusations. It's been 6 months since that day, and I'm still living with the consequences of my choices. I moved into a small apartment across town, close enough to maintain contact with my children, but far enough to give them the space they needed. Marcus, unsurprisingly, disappeared from my life the moment things got complicated. Turns out, he had a girlfriend the whole time. I wasn't even his only affair. The first month, Emma and Jack refused to see me at all. Isaac arranged for them to talk to a family therapist, showing yet again what a better parent he was than me. He never used my mistakes as ammunition against me with the kids, never tried to turn them against me. He just focused on helping them process their pain and anger in healthy ways. When Emma finally agreed to meet me for coffee, she couldn't look me in the eyes. "How could you do this to Dad?" she asked, and the way she said Dad, with such fierce protection and love for Isaac, made me realize just how much damage I'd done. "He chose us, Mom. He chose to be our father when our real dad couldn't bother to show up. And this is how you repaid him?" Jack's reaction was different, but equally painful. During our first meeting, he just sat there, playing with his food, before finally asking, "Was it because Dad worked too much?" "Because he would have worked less if you'd asked. He would have done anything for you." The divorce papers came 3 months after I moved out. Isaac was more than fair. He kept the house so the kids wouldn't have to move, arranged for generous visitation rights, and even set up a separate college fund for both children that I couldn't touch. His lawyer said he wanted to ensure that my future choices couldn't impact the kids' education. The hardest part wasn't losing my marriage or my home. It was watching Isaac continue to be an amazing father to my children, while I became increasingly peripheral to their lives. He never missed a parent-teacher conference, still coached Jack's soccer team, and attended every one of Emma's debate competitions. Meanwhile, I had to ask permission just to know when these events were happening. Last week, I ran into Isaac at Emma's school play. He was there with his sister, both of them beaming with pride as Emma delivered her lines perfectly. I sat in the back alone, watching the empty seat next to me where Marcus would never be welcome. After the show, Emma hugged Isaac first, long and tight, before giving me a brief, awkward embrace. That night, alone in my apartment, I finally admitted the truth to myself. I hadn't just cheated on my husband. I had cheated on my entire family. I had taken the most precious gift, a man who chose to love not just me, but my children as his own, and thrown it away for a cheap thrill that meant nothing. Isaac texted me this morning about Emma's upcoming birthday. He's planning a party, and while I'm invited, we both know it won't be the same as previous years. I won't be helping to decorate, won't be there early to set up, won't be standing next to him as we watch our daughter blow out her candles. Instead, I'll arrive as a guest in what used to be my home, bearing gifts and wearing a smile that hides my regret. The worst part is knowing that my children learned the wrong lessons about love and commitment from me. Despite Isaac's best efforts to shield them, they watched their mother destroy their family for a fling. Emma's already talking about how she'll never trust relationships, and Jack's become cynical about love in a way no 14-year-old should be. Sometimes I think about reaching out to Marcus, just to tell him what his pursuit of a married woman cost me. But I know that would just be another way of avoiding responsibility. I made my choices. I chose to risk everything good in my life for something that turned out to be completely meaningless. Isaac has started dating again. Emma mentioned it during our last lunch together. And you know what? He did it right. He talked to the kids first, made sure they were comfortable with it, and has been completely transparent about everything. He's showing them how a parent should behave, even in difficult situations. Meanwhile, I'm left with nothing but regret and a series of if-onlys. If only I'd talked to Isaac about feeling disconnected. If only I'd remembered what really mattered. If only I'd thought about my children before myself. But if-onlys don't change anything, and they certainly don't rebuild broken trust. So here I am, learning to live with the consequences of my choices, watching from the sidelines as my children grow up in a broken home that I shattered. Isaac still signs every email to me with co-parent instead of his name, and that small formality reminds me daily of everything I lost. The stable, loving family I once had is gone, replaced by scheduled visitations and tension-filled exchanges. And the worst part? I have no one to blame but myself.